Okay, hi everyone. So, welcome again to our webinar. And today we are having the third global talk Eco Leaders of Tomorrow, Green Horizons, and Future Skills. So, this webinar is being organized jointly by the Global Ambassadors of Sustainability, the Global Green Chamber of Commerce, and the Environmental Awareness Initiative in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So today we have a lineup of prominent guest speakers on. We'll be speaking on various topics on sustainability, which will be in common under the resilience, the title of Resilience Horizons, Navigating the Tech Nature Business Nexus. So now I'm inviting Michelle Thatcher, Ms. Michelle, the CEO of the Global Green Chamber of Commerce, for an opening remarks. So the floor is yours, Michelle.
Thank you so much and welcome everyone. Today's conversation is about what truly it means to prepare for a sustainable future, not only through innovation, but through the systems, skills, and leadership required to make sustainability real. We began with Dr. Taibea, who grounds us in the urgent realities of climate adaptation and flood-resilient housing, showing us how design must respond to environmental risk with intelligence and dignity. Next, Dr. Amira explores what it means to lead with nature, when regenerative thinking reshapes interiors, healthcare environments, and the human experience of our space. We then move into the emerging frontier of sustainability with Dr. Gath, who asks us how AI will govern environmental decisions and what ethical accountability must look like in smart futures. From there, Ms. Karen brings us sustainability directly into the heart of business, showing us how circular design strategies can empower SMEs as the heartbeat of the economy. And finally, Dr. Tamer connects resilience to leadership, bridging green skills gap with financial execution and reminding us that the future is not limited by capital, but by capacity. So together, these talks offer us a rare systems-level view of what eco-leadership requires. So thank you. And as you can see, we have such a global audience and a global speakers with us today. Please, I know that we're putting these programs back to back, but we have another program next Thursday, February 5th. So please mark your calendar on that. And as usual, we will just take one moment of breath to give peace, love, and kindness in this time of trial and tribulations that some of us might be experiencing within each of our own countries, as well as in our personal life. And we will extend that peace and kindness and strength to each of our speakers today. Friendly reminders. We encourage participation for those who are joining us live on LinkedIn. We encourage you to share your location, both your city and your country. And please ask your questions in the comment section as well. We have started this year off with just such strong attendees asking the most amazing questions that are so thoughtful and relevant. So really appreciate that. And always keep in mind that this space is for open, inclusive, and uplifting dialogue. And I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Bassam, who has brought us all together today. And without him, we would not be here. So Dr. Bassam with the Global Ambassadors of Sustainability.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michelle, for this introduction. And I think we'll start with our first guest speaker, Dr. Taiba Nazarian. And Dr. Taiba is a senior architecture designer, sustainability consultants from Canada. So the floor is yours, Dr. Taiba. And you have 12 minutes.
Everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Wassal and Misha, for having me today and this opportunity to speak. Today, I will talk about flood resilience along river and how planning, design, and climate adaptation can work together to reduce risk while supporting sustainable community. I will discuss the impact of climate change and flooding, as well as the flood resilience plan and risk management strategy at various levels. As you know, climate change is not a future scenario, it's a present reality. And flooding is the most natural disaster worldwide among all of the climate-related hazards, such as drought, extreme heating, rainfall, wildfire, rising temperature, storm, and so on. And flood frequency and intensity are increasing due to a combination of climate-driven and human-made factors. On the climate side, we see the heavier rainfall, river overflow, and storm surges, and snow melt, even dam failure. And on the human side, rapid urbanization, impervious surface, and development in flooding have significantly increased exposure and vulnerability. As you know, there are various types of the floodings, and including the riverine flood, flash flood, and coastal flood. And at the river scale, we see eroded riverbank, lost vegetations, and destabilized ecosystem. Flash flooding skewers riverbank, weakens the vegetations, and increase the likelihood of the future flood. And at the urban scale, impervious surface such as roads, parking lots, and also rooftops accelerate runoff. A storm drains become collects with debris, and also aging and unsized infrastructure is overwhelmed during intense rainfall event. These floods damage the homes and the structures located within the floodplain area, and disrupt lives and create long-term social and economical instability. So we need to provide the flood resilience plan, and the goal of the flood resilience is not simply to prevent flood. The main goal is minimize flood impact, protect lives and property, and ensure rapid recovery. So flood resilience is built on several key objectives, such as risk reduction, protection of lives and property, infrastructure resilience, nature-based solutions, natural resource management, and community preparedness and awareness. As you see in this diagram, flood resilience operates within a dynamic cycle, moving from exposure to damage through recovery and toward adaptation and mitigation. So it's necessary to consider several strategies for mitigating the impact of flood. Flood risk must be managed at multiple scales. Effective flood resilience requires coordinated strategy at the 3 levels. The first is conurbation and catchment scale. The second is neighborhood scale. And the third is building scale. Each level plays a distinct role, and the success depends on their integration, all of these scales. Now I will briefly discuss each of them. At the larger scale, strategies focus on managing water before it reaches vulnerable communities. The key strategy in the conurbations and catchment scale include source control, diversion and redistribution of flood flows, flood mitigation and temporary water storage, and green infrastructure and open systems. As you know, traditional hard measures such as the levees and flood walls, like the concrete walls, steel walls, and stone walls, still play a role, especially for the area that cannot be relocated. So we can use this type of the flood walls or levees. And in addition, the using of flood water diversion to create a seasonal pond and can help with temporary water storage and mitigate flooding. However, these measures must be carefully integrated into the landscape and tied into natural topography. Nature-based solutions are very important, and a combination of structural and nature-based strategy can reduce flood risks through riverbank stabilization and increase floodplain capacity. Removing constraints and laying back slopes reconnects rivers to their floodplains, increasing the surface area and infiltration and temporary water storage. Introducing and restoring the meanders slows water velocity, reduces the downstream flooding, and enhances the function of wetland. Observe and filter the flood water. Structural stabilization measures such as gabions, riffles protect the banks from erosion during the period of high flow velocity. In addition, soil bioengineering technologies, which include vegetations, corals, stressed soil blocks, and live branches, utilize roots and plant material to stabilize the soil, absorb water, sediments, and also restore habitats. These approaches transfer rigid and channelized rivers into more resilient systems that manage floods more efficiently and support the ecological health. At the neighborhood level, the focus shifts to managing flood pathway and adapting the public realm. Key strategy in this scale includes the sustainable drainage system, green roofs, expanded or redesigned drainage network, and multifunctional open space. And you can see different type of the drainage system that we can use, the permeable surface or consider larger infrastructure to storage the water. In addition, public spaces, as I mentioned, serve more than one purpose. Parks, trails, and plaza can also function as temporary floodwater storage area and observe the excess water during the extreme event, while providing the social and ecological value during the dry period. This approach not only reduces the flood risks, but also improves the quality of life, strengthens community identity, and also increase access to nature. At the building scale, resilience is about the reducing damage and speeding recovery. So the common strategy includes the rising floor level about the base flood elevations, using flood resilience construction materials, and designing removable components, and protects and relocate mechanical and electrical system. And you can see in this photos how they consider some of the areas, some non-habitable spaces like the storage, parking, offices, and the first level below the base flood elevation. There are two key appropriate. One of them is wet flooding, and another one is dry flooding. And wet flooding allows water to enter a designated area below the base flood elevations, and using water-resistant materials and control opening to reduce the structural damage. This strategy, as I mentioned, is particularly effective for parking, storage, and non-habitable spaces. Dry flood proofing, on the other hand, aim to keep water out the space, but different strategy, such as sealing walls and foundations, install floodgates and flood doors, and using backflow preventers, and protecting equipment and utilities. The choice between these two strategies depends on the flood depth, duration, velocity, as well as the building use. But in all of the case, it's very important the design decision must anticipate flooding rather than react to it. In conclusion, I can mention the flood resilience requires a shift in mindset from resisting water to living with water. So we can consider 4 core strategies guide this approach. The first one is avoiding through zoning, land use planning, and group restrictions. And the second is retreating by setting back development and restoring floodplain. And the third is accommodating by elevating structure and allowing controlled flooding. And the last one is protecting through a combination of hard and soft measure. These strategies for the pillars of the resilience plan, and when applied together and across the scales, they create communities that are safer, more adaptable, and more sustainable in the face of climate uncertainty. And flood resilience housing along the river is not just a technical solution, it's a commitment to environment justice, community safety, as well as a sustainable future. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm open to any question and more discuss.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Taiba, for this interesting sharings.
You're
And now we move to the second guest speaker, Dr. Amira Hamdi. And Dr. Amira is an assistant professor of interior architecture at the Fairouz University from Egypt. So the floor is yours, Dr. Amira, and you have 12 minutes, please.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Hussam, for hosting us today. Welcome, everyone, for the third talk. And my contribution today will make you think sustainability in a different way, in an interior architecture mindset. It will be titled Leading with Nature, Biophilic Design as a New Leadership Tool in Sustainable Hospitality. So my overview for my contribution will start by why nature matters now, and why especially now, and what makes hospitality now at a turning point. And redefining also biophilic design beyond aesthetics. What is really biophilic design? Also changing the leadership mindset and perspective lens to cultivating values through space, and finalizing with research insight from my latest research published in this figure, and also concluding with this digital with design as a mindset, and also keeping up with the global agendas. Now, why hospitality now is a turning point due to the urban density that's increasing both challenges and opportunities for green integration. Also, we have new guests now. 70% of the travelers now prefer the hotel's designs that demonstrates visible, sustainable practices inside their design places. That means that there's escalating pressure on the leadership mindsets that they should maintain more green technologies and design solutions. So that moves us to what is biophilic design indeed. So we made a survey and see what is a biophilic design in different mindsets. So people said it's beyond aesthetics. Another said a strategic approach, and maybe it's a vital bridge between nature and human decisions. It enhances, of course, well-being, and it's surely not decoration. And it's a profound philosophy and also a strategic methodology that people apply to see spaces in a different way, not only for the love of green, but to move from green looks to green leadership decisions that make genuine impact for well-being. So biophilic design, back to Kellert in 2008, he developed the research and identified 6 major biophilic design elements that we should maintain to keep a biophilic design inside a place. So starting by environmental features and every greenery and water elements that can be invaded, natural shapes and forms, every materials, different and textures that makes you feel that you are already in nature, natural patterns and process, the way we design and circularizing the places we sit, and how you can feel intimate to the place you are and keep a connection between you and the place you designed, light and spacing, of course, place-based relationships, and also evolved human-nature relationships. So by adding these biophilic design elements, that made the leadership mindset of hotels moved from using only profitable ideas to cultivating values through spaces, and aligns design with values. That means that shapes the organizational culture itself, and makes a strong influence on the decision makers for this hotel designs, hotel management. That's redefined actually the hospitality leadership from the traditional one to the biophilic one. The traditional one, which prioritizing always the efficiency, and which is important, of course, but it's not the prioritizing now. It's different, and driving from immediate profit and managing day-by-day logistics, to moving from biophilic leaders which have this care for people and care for the place and respecting the ecosystem surrounding, and keeping the long-term ecological thinking for the place they are the leaders for. That means that we have redefined the hospitality leadership from management to meaning. The integration of biophilic design principles creates hospitality experience that's not just profitable, but also deeply memorable for the guests who wanting it aesthetically, and inheriting resilience in the facing of the future challenges for these brands. So a quite quick research insight for my latest research published, Environmental Design Innovation in Hospitality, a sustainable framework for evaluating biophilic design interiors in rooftop restaurants, along with my esteemed co-authors. My research actually was built in 3 critical areas: design innovation, user experience, and operational sustainability, to interplay the successful biophilic implementation inside the hospitality. So we started by using Kellert's biophilic design elements, the six ones, to make to the built environment of hotel in Alexandria, and try also to manage with the evidence-based design approach, moving from theory to practice, and into-based nature-based theory and dynamic capability theories. These theories combined with sustainable development goals to achieve the biophilic design elements. So we started by making a Delphi method, which is kind of like interviewing between an expert panel. We made an expert panel of experts in interior architectures and also hotel management and masters and PhD scholars and also environmental psychologists in this place, in this field, and try to take their opinions and decisions about how might we invade these biophilic design elements, 6 ones developed by Kellert, inside the hospitality places. And the answers were amazing and made us shaped the mood board where we start to design our hotel. And also we tried to move from only qualitative to quantitative design approach, research approach. This qualitative, if you scan the QR code, you will be a part of the survey, which was made by the guests, and see also what do they most prefer from these biophilic design elements, the environmental features, or they would prefer the natural shapes and forms, or etc. So by these decisions and research methods they were taking, we moved to the design-based approach, and we started to design the planning and the airflows and environmental impact, and considering the environmental considerations inside it. And each place we planned, we tried to focus on each of the on the biophilic design 6 elements developed by Kellert. As you can see, for the first one, it was environmental features, integrating greenery and water elements inside the place. And as you can see, it's completely clear. And also for the natural shapes and form, natural pattern, natural materials and textures inside the place. And it kept very intimate connection for the guest with the place. And also the circular seatings and how it felt intimate with gatherings and family meetings, and also finalizing by the other 3, light and shade, keeping the light systems and manipulating with the lightning and shade inside the place, which created direct connection with nature and creates genuine well-being and relieving the stress for the guests. Also the place-based relationships, as Alexandria was one of the most having the nicest cityscape ever. So people need to see this and make a connection with nature as it. So concluding my research, it was very important for us to make a sensory and aesthetic enhancement. We did this through vertical walls and green walls and natural materials, natural lighting, color scheming, and water elements. And also we tried to improve this customer experience and turn in the terms of financial outcomes for this hotel. So we needed for this inclusion of patterns and materials, which aligns quietly with the sustainable goals, we needed training programs and stakeholder engagements and awareness campaigns of why this is important, such a meeting on such a platform that we are having today. So in conclusion, beyond creating pleasant environment, biophilic interiors can act actually as a passive educators, cultivating critical green skills and behaviors. That will be through environmental awareness, responsible consumption, and system thinking, and also well-being literacy that would be among our guests. So well-designed biophilic spaces can have this unique capacity to teach sustainability and foster responsible behaviors through the space we design. So this completely aligns with the global agendas and global sustainable goals. Number 3, good health and well-being. Number 11, sustainable cities and communities. Number 12, responsible consumption and production. And number 13, for the climate action. So by this, we are the future leaders design. We are creating the interior designing environments, not just policies. We are leading with nature by this way. And thank you, everyone.
Yep, thank you so much, Dr. Amira, for this interesting and enlightening presentation, and also I think committing on time. So we move to the third guest speaker, who will be Mr. Ghaith Tantawi. And Mr. Ghaith, he is a project manager at Imagine Studios from Brazil. So the floor is yours, Mr. Ghaith.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wissam. Thank you, Michele. I would like to first thank my colleagues for their presentations. Today, let's take a journey exploring some of the AI or artificial intelligence applications in architecture, from AI homes to algorithmic sustainability. from the simplest to the most complicated in terms of area and complexity of algorithm. To ease this presentation, I divided this into 10 questions and 10 answers, so we can understand it the best way possible. The main points is what are the responsibility and ethics here, how complex algorithmic sustainability is, and how it can influence decisions, especially the environmental aspect at larger scale. Let's start from the beginning. The first question, what is an AI home? How does it actually function? Let's imagine this scenario. You open your eyes in the morning, the sensors detect a change of temperature and movement. The AI system starts acting. The home does not ask you what to do, but it already knows you. So the living room, for example, cooling activity started to gently activate before you arrive. However, not everywhere in the house will act the same. Your kid will keep sleeping at 25 degrees. Even the living room is adjusted to your preference, 21 degrees. The kitchen, the smart kitchen in this case, or the AI kitchen, know your preference. You go to the refrigerator, he already knows your rhythm, morning coffee, fried eggs. You pick the coffee, you are running low, a direct message sends to your phone. And as soon as you put the pan on the oven, it's automatically turned on. You don't need to do that. If you have a phone, if you are on the phone and you forget your eggs, the oven, the smart oven, will immediately turn off when the food is ready. So there are no burning food. You go to the shower, the same thing happens. The AI can actually activate the correct temperature for your shower. It can actually detect who is in the bathroom. There's a message of leaking pipe arrive to your phone, advising you that there is a leak. There is no problem yet, but you should act now before it started to be a problem. So all this system is what is an AI home actually is. It's actually working by learning, not by a command. So that's why it's different from a smart home. Next, let's start with the technical question. The first question that we should ask ourselves: new AI home, what must be considered first? The first layer of intelligence is not software, it's architecture. An AI home begins with architectural readiness. Flexible spatial layout allow intelligence to move, adapt, evolve. Service zones that must be accessible, of course. Systems that must be reachable. The second layer is infrastructure. We need certain things to be applied. The home nervous system, so it's very important in the structure. Power stability, resilience networking, and physical access define whether AI can function reliably over time or not. Next come the data architecture. Designers must decide what the home can sense, what it can remember. That's very important in terms of ethics, as we are going to see later. And what must remain private, not shared with others. Data collection without boundaries is very dangerous at this point. Next come the sensor strategy. We have sensors. They are not decoration. They are carefully placed, and they must earn its place. There is a careful process here. Poor placement can create false intelligence. And finally, the control logic. This is the final of the AI home design. The control logic defines how the home thinks. Comfort, efficiency, safety, and privacy must be balanced, not optimized blindly or without any consideration. Next, a lot of people would ask, if I need an AI home, should I buy a new house? Should I design from scratch? The answer is no. We can actually, the question is, how can an existing home be transferred into an intelligent house or an AI house? The first step is diagnosis. You have to see what is happening inside your house. You have to see it for what is it. Understanding the mechanical condition, the electrical capacity, the real occupancy behavior, and anything related. Then comes intelligence, potential mapping. Not every room needs intelligence, not every space, whether we are talking about hotels, restaurants, anything, it's the same process. AI home is an example here in our presentation, but we can generalize this over many other aspects. Focus is placed on high impact systems. For example, HVAC, lighting, energy management, and water. Infrastructure, bridging flows, network reinforcement, power stabilization, all those aspects should be function without any difficulties. The learning, at the end, we have to understand the learning will be activated gradually, because the whole concept of AI homes or AI technology is by learning, not by placing the data at once. So in order to understand better how this actually works, we can ask the question, how does an AI home actually think and learn over time? So if we think about this as a process, we can say that the AI home thinks through feedback loops, not rules. Sensors perceive data, temperature, humidity, occupancy, energy flow, air quality, and so much more. And the data architecture filter what's matter, control logic evaluates trade-offs, and their learning process updates behavior slowly by time. For example, instead of targeting fixed temperature, the system learns comfort range. It understands tolerance. It adapts to seasons. It adapts to guests. You have guests. You have 10 people now in the room. It's different. I'm not alone anymore. So this adaptation is very important. That's how we moved from smart home to intelligent house, or smart artificial intelligent house. Learning is crucial in this process, and that's what the AI system can do. Human interaction remains central, because the home will communicate clearly with you in order for the residents to tell the AI all the data and decisions that the AI can develop over time. The next question is, how can we protect our privacy in AI powered home? Of course, all of you have the same problem. If you are using your phone, there's a lot of data collected, your location, and you will have the same problem with an AI home, of course. Every AI home relies on data. So when rooms are used, how many people are, when do they wake up, when do they go out, preferred temperature, daily routines, a lot of data here. So on their own, these data points may seem harmless, but together they can actually reveal a lot of intimate details about your personal life. So the danger is over collecting. There's also another risk of control. If residents do not clearly know what is being collected and where to store it, that's very important as well. How we can access that, it will be still a problem. Truly intelligent home, we have to remember, truly intelligent home knows everything. So this level of privacy is very important to be controlled. Now let's move to the next question, which is start to be complicated. What is algorithmic sustainability? Algorithmic sustainability sounds technical, but the idea is very simple. It means that the sustainability decisions are no longer made by only people, or policies, or design guidelines. There's increasingly made by algorithms, systems that can calculate, prioritize, and optimize continuously, often without us noticing. And that's not the future. That's already happening in several situations. For example, as the first presentation, in climate resilience, in flood problem, it's happening all over the world. AI is just taking over a lot of policies in this case. Think about a home energy system that decides when to cool, when to store energy, and when to reduce consumption based on electricity prices, high, not high. So no one votes on those decisions. The system is working based on numbers, and that's what's happening every day. It's a loop. So this can scale up. Algorithm classify, for example, flood risk zone. They prioritize which neighborhoods receive climate adaptation funding. They decide when grids reduce demand, which buildings are considered inefficient, and which behavior are encouraged or penalized. Sustainability becomes automated. This is not necessarily bad. In fact, it can be powerful. Algorithms can respond faster than humans. It can handle complexity, of course, and adapt to changing conditions. But algorithmic sustainability change where authority sits. The key shift is sustainability stop being a goal we decide, becomes a process that we run. That's very important to set it like this. Now let's move to the next question. The next question is how are algorithms...
Sorry, you have 2 minutes, please.
Okay, I will try to sum up. How are algorithm already governing environmental decisions without us realizing that? So most people believe sustainability is governed by laws and regulations, but actually these decisions feel neutral because they are in numbers. But numbers do not remove values. They hide behind them. So that's important. For example, a flood risk algorithm may rely on historical data that no longer reflects climate reality. This is very related to the example. So that's how we can set it correctly. Can AI help sustainability while quietly creating new environmental harm? The short answer is yes. This is one of the most uncomfortable truths about green AI or greenwashing. AI can reduce energy use in homes. It can optimize cooling, lighting demand, and so on. But there is the danger that we have also to focus on. When sustainability decisions are automated, question number 9, there's things become politically serious. When humans make sustainability decision, responsibility is clear. When algorithm makes decisions, responsibility is not actually going to be. It's going to be fragile at this point. So to end up, because of the time, I'm just going to say that do we ensure AI serves sustainability without sacrificing ethics and trust? The answer is we need more intelligence. We need actually better boundaries. We need eco-leaders. We need ethics. We need transparency. There's many factors that we have to consider, not technology. Technology is running perfectly. What we need at this point is just more adaptation and more acting from eco-leaders. So I will just stop here. Thank you so much for your time. And if you need any further information about our research, it's all open access in our LinkedIn account, and you are always welcome to join.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Ghaith. Again, another interesting topic. And now we move to the fourth guest speaker, who is Ms. Karen Formosa. And Ms. Karen is a sustainability and circularity advocate at sustainability from the United Kingdom. So the floor is Ms. Karen.
Hello, everyone. I'm absolutely delighted to be here, and thank you to you, Dr. Wissam and Ms. Tasher, for inviting me to join this webinar. So today I want to shine a light on something that I really value, and I want to show that circularity isn't just for big companies with big teams, and that it can be entirely achievable to even the smallest of businesses. And I would like to show you how. So who are SMEs? And why are they important? So when we talk about SMEs, we're not just talking about a business category. We are talking about the heartbeat of the global economy. SMEs, they make over 90% of all businesses worldwide. They employ around 60% of the global workforce, and they generate more than half of global GDP. They keep our local economies alive, and they shape the character and the resilience of our communities. But the real power of SMEs goes beyond those numbers. It is in how they operate, it is in how they think, and it is in how they connect. And SMEs are agile, they're creative, they know their customers deeply, and they are very much trusted locally. So yes, large corporations may have the scale, but SMEs have the speed, they have the intuition, and they have their community. And in a circular economy, those qualities are absolutely priceless. So let's start with the basics, like the linear economy model that everybody knows, the take, make, use, dispose model. We extract the materials, turn them into products, use them, and then throw them away. It's a model that has powered economic growth for centuries, but it has one, or shall I say two, major flaws. It relies on the idea that there is an infinite number of resources and an infinite space for waste. And we all know that nothing about our world is infinite. And although they may not realize, SMEs feel the pressure of this model first. Rising material costs and higher disposal fees and the rapidly shifting customer expectations all hit the small businesses earlier and much harder, which makes this linear model more expensive, more risky, and increasingly out of step with how people want to buy. So what's the alternative? Well, enter the circular economy model. Now, I want you to imagine, instead of a straight line, imagine a circle where the resources flow in continuous loops. Waste from one process becomes input to another, and products are designed to be repaired and reused, and very little ever becomes waste. Now, circularity is built on three core principles. First, to design out waste, thinking about the end of life of your product from day one. What happens when the customer is finished with it? The goal is to extend its life before it becomes waste. The second is to keep products and materials in use for longer. This is where the services complement the products. Instead of only selling the item once, businesses can offer repairs, refills, or upgrades to keep the customers engaged and also keeping the materials circulating. And thirdly, to regenerate our general systems, our natural systems. This means giving back more than we take, designing products and sourcing materials in ways that restore our ecosystems and support our local communities. And here's where it gets exciting for small businesses. Every point in that circular loop you see there represents a potential revenue stream for those small businesses, and I can demonstrate how. So here you'll find the main benefits of implementing circularity in small businesses. And to explain it better, in the next slides, I will give you some examples to show you how circularity can be embedded successfully in a small business. The first concept is creation of new revenue streams without the major investment. So working with small businesses, one thing becomes very clear very quickly. Resources are always stretched. Most people wear multiple hats, and sustainability is rarely anyone's full-time job. But here's the exciting part. When SMEs step into circularity, they often discover new revenue streams simply by using what they already have. Their existing tools, their existing skills, and even their waste materials can become sources of value with no major investment. One of my favorite examples comes from a group of microbreweries. So every month they were paying to dispose of tons of spent grain, a pure cost and a constant burden. But once they reframed that waste as a resource, everything shifted. So they partnered with Saltire Patisserie in Edinburgh, and the bakery used that spent grain to create high-protein breads and snacks, and the results were fantastic. The breweries cut their disposal costs and gained a new revenue stream. The bakery secured a unique low-cost ingredient, and together they built a sustainability story that their customers absolutely love. And the beauty is that SMEs can do this faster than anyone else. There's no red tape and there's no long approval chains. It just needs a smart idea and the willingness to try. In my second concept, tailors around product life extension. So in this next example, I want to spotlight a small carpentry business. On this slide, you'll see how a few simple circular strategies help them keep products in use for longer and unlock 4 new revenue streams from one single wooden item. Traditionally, they would have sold the table, the chairs, or the wardrobe, and that was the end of the relationship. But with circular thinking, everything changed. They redesigned their items so they could be easily repaired. They introduced an annual maintenance service to keep their customers coming back. They launched a buyback scheme, taking back those old pieces, refinishing them, and selling them onwards. They turned wood offcuts into small products and even sold their sawdust to local gardeners. One wooden item, 4 new revenue streams, and countless ways to keep materials out of landfill and in circulation for longer. The key insight here is that in a circular economy, you're not just selling your products. You are also managing your relationships, you are also managing your resources, and you are creating long-term value. And SMEs are uniquely positioned to do just that. The third concept comes from customer loyalty and local community benefits. Now, in this example, I would like you to picture a small bookshop where just local folks pop in to find their next read. So small businesses like these are woven into the community, and customers are usually very loyal to the business. But here's where the opportunity for the bookshop lies. The bookshop introduces a take-back scheme. So what this essentially means is that the business is giving his loyal customers the opportunity that when they finish reading the book that they had bought from that same bookshop, they can bring it back and trade it in for credit towards a new one. The simple strategy, which in my opinion works beautifully, and I'll tell you why. So the customers get ongoing value from their purchases. The bookshop gains a steady inventory without buying any new stock, and the community benefits from the local circulation and the reduced waste of books. Now, this also becomes a shared purpose, one that connects the business and the customers together. In my final concept is dedicated to the people behind the circular economy, because circularity isn't just about the materials or just about the systems. It's about the skills, it's about the leadership and the human potential. A circular economy thrives when people have the green skills, the creativity, and confidence to rethink how things are made, used, repaired, and kept in circulation. And this is where SMEs have a real advantage. Small businesses are built on craftsmanship, on relationships, and on knowledge passed down through teams and generations. Circularity doesn't replace those strengths. It elevates them and makes them even more valuable. And this brings me to leadership. Circularity succeeds when leaders encourage the experimentation. Those leaders who say, yes, okay, let's try this, instead of saying, oh, we've always done it this way. So when leaders create a culture of trust and curiosity, teams start spotting opportunity by themselves. They feel empowered to suggest improvements, and innovation becomes part of their everyday work. And naturally, new roles and richer, more meaningful jobs begin to emerge. Now, in the next slide, I am going to briefly give out the roadmap that has been specifically designed for small businesses who want to start implementing circularity in their business. Now, do not worry, there is no jargon, just smart, doable actions that build momentum, I promise. So the step one is, I want you to spend 10 minutes of the day noting what gets thrown away, what gets given away, or just left unused. Capture 3 things: what it was, how much it cost, and what originally it cost. This gives you a clear picture of the hidden waste and the value leakage. In step 2, set aside 1 hour to explore where the value could be recovered. You can ask questions like, what do customers do with our product at their end of life? What materials do we regularly waste? What do we keep buying that we could be sourcing differently? Just identify 2 to 3 maybe promising opportunities. In step 3, choose one idea you can implement within the next month. Keep it under £500 with low disruption to your operations and make it measurable. In step 4, test and learn. Turn your idea into a small pilot. Tell your customers it's a test and invite them in. Track 3 things: the time spent, the financial impact it has, and your customer response. Review what worked and what didn't, and share the learning with your customers openly. The next step is exploring partnerships with your nearby businesses. Look for maybe material swaps or shared services or even joint offers. Trust takes time to build, but collaboration multiplies those possibilities. And the last step is scaling what works. If the pilot succeeds, well, expand it gradually. But if it didn't, you can refine it, you can simplify it, or you can reposition it. SMEs have the agility on their side. My advice is to keep listening, keep testing, and sharing your progress, because circularity is a mindset and it is not a one-off project. I would like to end my presentation on this note. The circular economy is a smart business strategy. So if you are an SME wondering where to start, start small, start local, and start with what you already know. I invite you to revisit the roadmap we explored today and make it your mission to start tracking what your business throws away, gives away, or pays to dispose of. You will be genuinely surprised by what you will uncover. The circular economy is moving forward whether we join it or not. So the real question for small businesses is this: do you want to be ahead of the curve, or do you want to be just playing catch up? That's it from me. Thank you to the audience, to my fellow panelists, Dr. Wissam and Ms. Thatcher. It was an honor being here with you all today. I hope this has been an interesting presentation and that I have somehow sparked something in small businesses to take that first step towards circularity. I'd be happy to keep the conversation going. Please feel free to get in touch. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Ms. Karen, for this interesting presentation on circularity. And we move now to the fifth guest speaker, and the last for today, Dr. Tamer Momin. And Dr. Tamer, he is a banking and sustainable finance strategist and also economic researcher from Egypt. So the floor is yours, Dr. Tamer.
Thank you, Dr. Wissam. Thank you, Michelle, Global Ambassadors of Sustainability and Global Green Chamber of Commerce for this great opportunity. And warm greetings to all distinguished guests, fellow experts, and future leaders. First, please let me start my presentation by reflecting on the insights of our previous global talks, first and second talks, and listening to today's amazing presentations, I realize we are assembling a puzzle. In our previous talks, Dr. Khulud gives us the design, smart building. Professor Marine gives us the values, green education. And Ms. Raghda reminded us with an individual responsibility. But Dr. Ahmed Ghini confronted us with the hard truth. He admitted that green innovation comes with a heavy price tag. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the design, we have the values and the will, but we are missing the engine. We are missing the mechanism to pay the bill. Today, I am here to answer that challenge. I am Tamer Momin, banking expert and economic researcher, and my talk is titled today, From Resilience to Leadership. It's about financial execution and how we empower our economy and the banking sector to turn this cost into profit. Let's talk business. To understand the situation, we must define the paradox, the global paradox. As a matter of fact, sustainability and ESG integration are now central to national strategy, corporate strategy, and the capital allocation globally. The fundamental question for investors and policymakers that always ask, does ESG do more than meet ethical standards? Does it truly improve financial resilience against macroeconomic shocks? This is the question. We are standing at a global economic paradigm shift. Sustainability is no longer just CSR. It has become the single most critical determinant of long-term financial stability. However, as we look at the global market, we confront a dangerous bottleneck. I call it a capital versus capacity paradox. Here is the reality, my friends. Capital is available. Trillions of dollars are pledged globally for green finance. The money is there, but is the talent ready? We face a strict reality. While capital is available, the capacity to deploy it efficiently is lagging. We have a human capital deficit that is slowing down the entire machine. And this deficit creates a massive disconnect on the ground. In financial sector, where I come from, we see this disconnect every day. There is a huge gap between high-level policies written in boardrooms, and the technical execution on the ground. We are in an urgent need of what I call climate competent workforce. Let me be clear, my friends. We don't just need environmental scientists. We need a bankers who can read a carbon footprint report as easily as balance sheet. We need risk officers who can integrate climate risk into financial modeling. Without this workforce, the fund will remain stuck in pipeline. Now, let's see where this hurts the most in the real economy. Let's talk about the backbone of our economy. It's SMEs, small and medium enterprise. As a practitioner, I see the challenge most being here. SME employs the majority of our workforce, yet they are the most exposed to this transition. Unlike large corporations, a small factory owner can't afford an expensive ESG consultant. If we simply impose strict regulation without support, we risk crashing them. We risk leaving the engine of our economy behind. Let me share a very quick story. I met a client recently, a brilliant manufacturer. He wanted to export to Europe, but he asked for his carbon report. He looked at me and said, Dr. Tamer, I know how to make products. I don't know how to calculate carbon. This is where we fail them if we don't teach them. So, how do we fix this? The answer is lies in one phrase, what I call democratizing future skills. We must strip away the complexity, simplify, embed. We need to simplify the sustainability matrices to SMEs can understand them. We need to embed ESG principles directly into vocational training. We need to train our SMEs client not just on how to get a loan, but on how to be sustainable. We need to shift our mindset from compliance to competitiveness. It's what I call rebranding the sustainability, not as a cost center, but the ultimate risk tool. The ultimate risk tool. I think that every financial leader asks this question every day. How can we, as a financial leaders, accelerate the creation of financial products that makes the green choice the cheaper choice for SMEs today, rather than just a moral obligation for tomorrow? I believe we can't achieve Green Horizon without the twin transition, which is merging digitalization with sustainability. From my perspective, my friend, I see that data is the missing link. We need better data to price climate risk accurately. Without digital tool to measure the impact, banks can't fund it efficiently. The bridge between green ambition and the green finance is in fact digital reality. This leads us to a new definition of leadership. Leadership is actually redefined, my friends. This is bring me to my core proposition. For too long, we have treated green skills as a niche, as a separate vertical silo. I do confirm now in front of you all that this era is over. Sustainability must become a horizontal competency across all disciplines. Whether you are in finance, engineering, management, education, or legal, green is now part of your job description. The eco leaders of tomorrow will not just be activists. They will be a client literate bankers, the ESG investors, the sustainability innovators. To conclude, and in my core message for today, the money is ready. The policy is ready. The technology is ready. The only missing piece in the puzzle is the scale. The horizon is indeed green, but education is the only bridge to reach it. Let's build this bridge together. I invite you all to scan the QR code on the screen to connect directly on LinkedIn to keep this strategic dialogue going. Thank you again, and let's build the bridge together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tamer. Again, another enlightening presentation. So we start with flooding and end it with finance. And I think now it's time for Q&A, and I'm inviting Ms. Michelle to moderate the Q&A session.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wissam, and many thanks to our esteemed speakers today for their very thoughtful and enlightening presentations. We have had so much dialogue on LinkedIn, so really appreciate our audience who's joining us from all over the world. And a thank you also to Tay, who is joining us from our team, who has helped to moderate the questions and bring them over into our system. I want to just comment on the different countries and where people are joining us from today. These are just a few snapshots. We have so many from Egypt. I think you're the #1 leader coming into this today. Several from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Zuradai, Brunei. Himal Pradesh, India. Nicosia, Cyprus, Malawi, Copenhagen, Denmark, Zagreb, Croatia, South Africa, several from Nigeria, Morocco, Bengaluru, India, Tunisia, quite a few from Tunisia as well, several from Malaysia, Maraba, Amazon in Brazil, Bangladesh, several from Bangladesh, Greece, Odessa, Ukraine, Cameroon, quite a few people from India just in general. So thank you so much for joining. Tanzania, Nepal, St. Lucia, Caribbean, Indonesia, Pakistan, both several from Indonesia and Pakistan, Riyadh, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Ruki, India, Brock University, Canada, thank you. Lagos, Nigeria, Uganda, Philippines, Argentina, and many more. So just wanted to say thank you for joining us from all over the world. We are a global sustainability family, and we really do welcome you. And I want to get straight to the questions. We're going to start with Dr. Tayeba. Dr. Tayeba reminds us that climate resilience is ultimately about safeguarding human dignity through design, where sustainability becomes protection and not the abstraction. So thank you so much for your presentation. And we have several questions here. One is from Strong Truth, and Strong asked, what is the main goal of using ecological or natural-based approaches in flood resilient planning and design? Main goal.
Thank you so much. It's a great question. As you remember, something that I talk about this today, it's the main strategy that they are based on the natural solution. So with this natural solution, or I believe that they are the passive strategy that we can use for protect the community against the flood. With this strategy, we can mitigate the flood impact and also protect the ecology all over the world. Some things that I mentioned, it's not exactly for big city. Also, we can use this strategy for some of the small village that we don't have, new technology or some of the specific technology or construction methodology to protect them housing. So I believe that these are some of the passive strategy that we can protect the ecology.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Tayeba. And we will go to Dr. Amira. And Dr. Amira showed us that nature-led design is not just aesthetic, it's regenerative infrastructure for well-being. And we have several questions here. First one I have is from Isa Ali, and Isa asks, how can we be part of your team to apply this to solve this issue? Because in our country, we faced a lot, but due to lack of funds or investments. So I think funding is a challenge.
That's a very good question. It's a little bit challenging, actually. The cost is number one. That's responsible for the delay of the practice now. Between the sustainability commitments and the real progress lies many failed initiatives. If we don't face it in a real action. So I think everyone should start by his own field. As I'm in the academic field for the higher education, I try to invade sustainability through the education. So sustainability is embedded when it's embedded in the earlier stages of design. It's very good with the outcomes and energy reducing by time for the percentage, I mean. So in my design courses, students are encouraged and they are actually have rubrics and evaluation over sustainable measurements inside their projects. So they are encouraged to evaluate this environmental impact alongside with aesthetics and functional, not only aesthetics and functional, but also environmental impact. That makes them having this design decisions they are making for these future interior architectures to be reasonable and to be aware with the environmental impact they are taking. So if everyone, it's like cross-sectional collaborations. If we all, it needs environmental governors, it needs people that have these initiatives like the global ambassadors we are trying to do now. It means interior architectures, it needs educators. Everyone in his field should try to maintain the sustainability, because it's measurable sustainability. If you give it a good income and you want to a good rubrics for attaining this sustainability and green structure, you will have this good outcome if you want in your field. I mean changing the word aesthetics is the point here. Now, aesthetics is not what we are looking for. We don't remember when you go place, we don't remember the walls. You remember how your body behaved when you entered the place, how your body behaved toward these walls, how you can, where did the place exactly tells you where to pause and where to gently being move forward and being actively engaged with this place. So that's what we really need. We don't seek decorations for it to be very high cost. No, we seek the experience that people live in. That's what we are really seeking to. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amira. And I do want to reemphasize the cross-collaboration. That's how we get things done with the Global Green Chamber, with the Global Ambassadors of Sustainability, and everyone coming together. And it does, enlighten us all of how we can take action without the extreme costs that go with that. And we'll go to Mr. Gath. Mr. Goth, I just want to share, I love the quote, the sustainability without accountability is technocratic control. So such a great quote, and thank you for offering us a rare and timely lens.
Thank you.
As sustainability really does become algorithmic, and eco-leadership must expand beyond that innovation into the ethics and governance of accountability. So really, thank you so much for reminding us of that. And we have some wonderful questions here. Dr. Mantala has asked us, what is the difference between AI home and Internet of Things?
Well, that's a very good question. The Internet of Things simply is referred to physical devices that you can connect to the internet. Those devices can collect data can receive information, and then they can respond to predefined rules. For example, think about that, like, for example, light that turns off at 11 o'clock. So at 11 o'clock, the light will turn off. That's it. But the AI home is completely different. The AI home is actually think. So if you are sad, he detects things in your body, like the lecture of Dr. Amira. And when you talk about biophilic architecture, there is a change of mood. The change of mood that you express, that can change your physical or your emotional spirit or things, feeling sad, feeling angry, feeling happy. So the AI can actually detect that, and then he can change the light based on that. So the light doesn't turn off at 11 o'clock. It actually go up and down based on your mood, the season, historical preferences. AI can remember. The Internet of Things doesn't have this. AI can remember what did you eat yesterday, and he can repeat, if you eat this 3 days in a row, start to be a habit. So it acts as very intelligent friend. It's totally different. I hope I answered that. I mean, it's quite important to realize the differences.
Yeah, so intuitive, and the coupling of Dr. Amira and Dr. Yats, the biophilic design with this this intuitive design as well is just, you know, something that we can barely fathom going into this future, and it really is so helpful to learn about it. So thank you so much, and great question. We will go over to Helen. And I just want to say thank you for sharing that SMEs are not just the school, but they are the heart of the economy. And I'll say Dr. Tamer really emphasized that as well. And Ms. Karen's grounds us in circularity and real business reality. So thank you so much, Karen. And we have several questions. The first question comes from Ahmed. And Ahmed asks, what are the environmental consequences of the disposal stage in a linear economy? Oh, Karen, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. So the disposal stage of a linear economy means that the products are discarded after use at their end of life. And this creates an environmental harm, which is big to scale. So there you've got the landfills, you've got the incinerators, which release the greenhouse gases, the toxic leachate, and all the air pollutants, while you have the constant flow of waste that accelerates through the soil, through the water, and then you have, like I mentioned in my slides, the ecosystem degradation if we do not design for circularity. And because materials are not recovered or reused, the disposal stage also drives further resource from extraction upstream. So you are locking in additional emissions because now you are having to extract more to make more new products. So instead of just looking at the downstream, you've got the environmental effects upstream, especially plastics and those hazardous materials which disrupt our natural systems and contaminate our food chain, which bring long-term instability in our environments.
Thank you so much, Ms. Karen. Really appreciate that. And thank you again for diving into the small to mid-sized businesses along with Dr. Tamer, because I know that with the Green Chamber of Commerce, we know that the majority, 80 to 90% of the world's businesses are SMEs. And yet on the sustainability side, we realize that they're the ones left outside so often and it does usually come down to cost. And with that, Dr. Tamer, who gave us the presentation and really featuring, I love the quote that the money is ready, the policy is ready, the only missing piece is the skill. So thank you so much for sharing that and delivering to us that the most urgent truths of this transition are the barrier is not the ambition or capital, it is the execution skills and capacity to lead sustainability financially. So thank you so much for that. We have some great questions here. We have how do we close the gap between ESG policy, ambition, and technical execution on the ground?
Thank you for the question. This is a long story we discuss. How to implement the ESG principle and integrate into business, especially in SME sector. This is the challenge we face. As I will answer these questions through two different points of views, as an academic and as a professional from the ground. As an academic, even if academic research in ESG and its impact and indicators always focus on large corporation and listed companies who are able to apply ESG principles and have an accurate financial reporting. In the field of work or as a practitioner, ESG always face some challenge in financial reporting and corporate governance, and this will make the process is difficult to assess ESG or I can say to apply ESG to reach an accurate data. And this resulted in also in a challenge for the bankers and risk advisors. As I said in my presentation, the missing link is data. When the data exists, you can manage what anything else. So it's one word. You can't manage what you couldn't measure. But our challenge to embed and simplify the ESG principles to apply on SME sectors to be able to involve them in a sustainable world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know we're running out of time, but I want to just get a couple of more questions in here. Dr. Tabea, how do ecological nature-based flood management strategies differ from traditional or purely engineered flood control methods? Just, I don't know if there's a high-level explanation that you can share with us. And that question was from Strong Truth.
Yeah, thank you so much again for the great question. As you know, in some of the places we have some of the traditional, a solution for mitigate the flood. As I mentioned, create the levee or use some of the flood wall with stone and something like this. But also, it's very important we consider also, we can use some of the passive and also active strategy. Something that I mentioned about the rainwater or flood water storage and harvesting. We can use this as a gray water in the building. So another step for the flood mitigation and also the sustainable strategy is that how we can use and how we can guide this strategy from the challenges to opportunities. So we can use this water and water storage in the building, or we can use some of the sustainable materials, resilience materials, and these are the new strategy that we can use for not exactly to protect the building and the housing. Also, we can improve our life and also mitigate the impact. Or with the traditional strategy. So.
Go ahead.
yeah, maybe we have just less protection, and with more strategy and active strategy, we can improve this protection. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I just want to make note of the QR code that's up right now to receive your certificate for today's program, and to also let us know if you have any interest in nominating somebody to speak at a future event and just giving feedback. So thank you so much for using the QR code. And I think we'll jump into another question here, Dr. Amira. What is if you can answer something very quickly, what is the next frontier of interior architecture in climate positive cities?
I think evidence-based design decisions is the key for that. I mean, sustainability should be embedded, as I said, in the earlier design stages. So moving from sustainable green, just symbolic green features, to really performance-driven biophilic design and sustainable strategies, like using daylight, natural ventilation, actually climate responsive materials, actually, and also natural color scheming. Every design decision we're taking for interior architecture learns and teaches the body to do something and to move on, stay or leave, trust or move on, return or forget. As for hospitality, it's very crucial this way. So any project for hospitality should has this budget and has this profitable mindset that they want to catch from, but actually the brands and the strong brands really decide and obtain and has to maintain the biophilic design elements and the sustainability within embedding of design decisions in their places, that will face any challenges in the future and changing any ups and downs in the branding business. I think so.
Thank you so very much. And Dr. Gath, when sustainability decisions become automated, what frameworks ensure accountability remains human? I don't know if there's a short answer to that.
Well, that's very difficult to answer in a few words, but I mean, it's a very complicated process, but we need to ensure that ethics is actually applied even from single scale like iHome design to the most complicated and complex when we are talking about urban planning and city decisions. We need to ensure that ethics and decisions cannot be automated. We can use AI as much as we want, but we need to ensure that the final decision is human. Otherwise, we are just going to in a very dangerous, as many leaders around the world has several times warned us, we can lead ourselves to destruction if we don't do that. We cannot give the final decision to an AI-based system.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. And thank you for the question. Really appreciate that. And the next question is for Karen. Hopefully there's a short answer to this one. What is the most realistic entry point for SMEs beginning circularity with limited resources?
We have very, very limited resources. We sometimes tell them to look at the business and just see where you are at the moment. Everybody should start the same way. You see where you are at the moment, the energy, the water, the operations, what you're doing at the moment that you could do better. And by doing this one, maybe utility at a time, you could actually start where you are, see where you want to get to, and then you develop slowly a process to give you your direction from the beginning to end. Sort of you look at your energy and say, what is my energy related to? What is it doing to me at the moment? And then you look at your operations and see how that energy can be used better, so that it actually creates an effect on obviously the energy use and eventually the carbon emissions. And you do that with every single thing or the majority of things in your business. And that way you create a holistic approach, holistic start, which will lead you to a holistic and a positive end. So that's my answer to the question to that, in brief, because there's a lot more to it, but obviously I'm trying to keep it in brief as much as possible.
No. And then one final question for Dr. Tamer. How does limited ESG knowledge among SME staff affect financial decision making?
This is a good question, as SMEs is always act as the backbone of the economy, and the majority of workforce is for SMEs. And the challenge is to embed the education only and the training for SMEs to develop their performance and shift their mindset from being compliance with regulatory only, or for being by them sustainability for as a moral obligation for tomorrow, to shift their mindset from to a competitiveness, the language of profit and return, risk and return. By this way, we can develop and reach to SMEs to be involved in the economy and completing the process of the macroeconomics as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. And I know that we are just over time, but I really wanted to get to everyone's questions as much as possible because we've had such an engaged audience today. Again, a big shout out to our amazing attendees who come week after week and really provide such thoughtful insight and questions, again, from a very global perspective. And to each of you, our esteemed speakers who've just brought us such a high level of information to be able to take back to our universities, our communities, and our work. And I will pass it over to Dr. Missong of Global Ambassadors of Sustainability.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michelle, and thanks to all the guest speakers for the interesting sharings and for the audience for the engagements. And again, I think every time we'll get more energy and motivation to continue this journey, since we are witnessing all these productive kind of sharings and discussions. And I'm very sure that this knowledge that is being shared is very, very fruitful for the audience, and also even the questions from the audience that provoking ideas, maybe for further research, for further studies, and also for kind of projects to be launched in collaboration. And we are very happy to do that, and we'll continue this journey with you all. And we'll see you next week in another webinar with guest speakers. We are bringing and trying again to bring people from various sectors to bridge those gaps between the sectors and to establish those fruitful collaborations. So thank you so much again, and we'll see you next week, and have a good time, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.